Good morning. The race for supremacy begins once again here at the MODUS Super Series, where Series 6 comes to a culmination over the next 6 days. There's going to be a new champion crowned here in Portsmouth, and what a week we have got ahead of us. Watching all of the action from, well, the best seat in the house, it is the asset, Paul Nicholson. Paul, back here again at Champions Week, and it feels like this one is the most open one yet.
Unquestionably. When you look at how many series titles have been won by this crop of players, that's none. It means that opportunity will be knocking for them this week. As far as weekly champions are concerned, it's a very interesting mix that we have because of the fact that we have bridged 2023 to 2024. So we do have 7 weekly winners coming into this one and some other people who maybe thought this opportunity wasn't going to come their way.
Indeed, because later on in the week we are going to see some runners-up from weeks in action. Well, this is what's so interesting about this series, is that we've had players who won weeks in November and a player who won one on Saturday night. Scott Taylor's going to be involved in the Group A season. He was absolutely superb, wasn't he, on Saturday? And throughout the course of the week, when the games got bigger, he turned out some big performances.
Yeah, he had his bad spell in Group A, which is almost what you've got to do if you're playing all week long. But on Thursday and Friday, he was remarkable, considering some of the levels that were hit against him and what other people were doing in other matches that he wasn't involved in. He just said, you can do what you do, but ultimately what I'm going to do is I'm going to win this group and I'm going to win the week. He was troubled by David Evans in the semi-finals on Saturday night, but the fact remains that he still won that very tight encounter. He's here, and David Evans, unfortunately, has gone back to the Northwest.
How do you find the week 12 to week 13 dynamic? Because we've seen John Henderson struggle with it in the past, but then we saw Giroud Mioch do the exact opposite and thrive under that.
I think it depends on the person. With John Henderson's situation about a year ago, he was coming off a Challenge Tour weekend, a full week in week 12, and what turned out to be almost a full week in Champions Week as well. He was absolutely exhausted. But Jeroen Mioch was coming into week 12 fairly fresh after a really good period of his season. It was a very different dynamic. But we're about to see how much we have with Scott Taylor's energy levels. So the question will be asked over the next few days.
It's going to be intriguing to see. So these are the final 12 players that are going to be in action. These are the 12 that will play in Champions Week. Group A are the 6 winners with the best average over the course of the week that they won. Scott Taylor, Andy Bolton, Wayne Jones, Tom Sykes, Chaz, Bast and Crabtree will be in action between now and Wednesday. Group B and C is a mix of his colleague, former weekly winner, as well as Darren Webster, Ron Meulenkamp, who had the 2 best runners-up averages, alongside Gary Stone, Ryan Harrington and John O'Shea in Group C. Right, let's talk about this Group A then, because this is effectively the best of the best going toe-to-toe. But do we have a clear favourite in your mind as far as this group's concerned?
Speaking to a lot of people since Saturday night, because they wanted the full picture before they made a decision, I've heard the name Andy Bolton a lot because of his staying power. He's had a pretty decent start to the Challenge Tour season. But that is very much a sidebar to what we are going to see here. Who's done it recently? Yes, Scott Taylor has done it recently. Andy's waited quite a long time to come back for this Champions Week, and he has his own unfinished business with this because he's seen other people hurdle over him in the last year or so. And Scott Taylor is someone who has beaten him in a weekly final before. So there's a lot of motivation for Andy this week. I personally am going for Andy at this point, but you were talking to Matt Edgar on Saturday night about the possibility of Darren Webster doing something. I think that's a hugely impressive call because he's only got 2 days to get into Saturday night and he is explosive. Many possibilities are there, and myself, yourself and Laura Turner will talk about it all week.
Indeed we will. Right, let's have a look and see what the bookies think about this all-important Champions Week. This is the outright betting, and it is Andy Bolton who goes out as favourite to go on and win the week. 9-2 with the odds compilers. Joint second favourites in Scott Taylor and Gary Stone. But is there any value somewhere in the market as far as you feel?
I do feel there's a little bit of value in 11-1 for Chaz Barstow. I think when you look at what he's done with us over the last couple of years, he was in the Champions Week from Series 1, so he's waited quite a long time to get back to Champions Week. But he's always been noted as a nighttime player and more of a previous studio player than here. But now that he's got through to this Champions Week, purely because of this venue, I I think 11-1 for him is good, but it's very much dependent on which Chaz Barstow turns up this week. I think the odds compilers have got it spot on. I think Taylor towards the top, Bolton especially, is going to be the favourite because of his experience and how many finals he's made. He hasn't won them all, of course. But yeah, I think they've got it pretty much spot on there.
And what would this do for a player like, for example, Tom Sykes, who's come to fruition because of this competition? We've unearthed a gem already. If he goes on and wins the jackpot, this is possibly one of the best stories we've ever had.
Yeah, I think so. You look at what Adam Mull did in January of 2023. Started his career by winning here and then going on to become the ADC ranked #1 player. Sykes really has used this venue to kick on. And if he wins this week, it's going to be the start of something. He's just signed a huge endorsement deal with a manufacturer for the first time. So things are starting to run in the right direction for him, but he's got a lot of work ahead of him.
Well, let's have a look and see what the bet builder is saying today. This is what you're having a punt on at home. It's a 6-1 treble, highest checker over 96.5 in the Taylor Barstow game. Chaz Barstow to beat Wayne Jones 4-2 or better in the match handicap, and Scott Taylor to beat Cam Crabtree at 10-11 pays 6-1. And the man who threw the last dart on Saturday evening is going to be involved in our first match of Champions Week. Scott Taylor in action up against Andy Bolton. And hey, this isn't a bad way to start, is it? The two bookmakers' favourites going toe-to-toe.
Well, we might as well start with a bang. I think when it comes to Monday morning, we see it most weeks that we could get a little bit of nerves. It's Champions Week, it's something extra special. And I think over the course of the day, we might see some nervy darts, and it might take a day for someone to really get into the groove. But as far as this game's concerned, they've got so much experience of playing Monday morning that I don't think those nerves will be there.
We're looking forward to this, aren't we?
It'll be wonderful.
Well, the race to supremacy is on here at the MODUS Super Series. A new name is going to be on the trophy come Saturday evening, and we're going to have some scintillating action between now and then. The action gets underway now. About to find out. Alongside Paul Nicholson in the commentary box, it's a very good morning to Laura Turner.
Yeah, very good morning to you too, Henry, and a good morning to everyone tuning in. Yeah, here we are, kicking off Champions Week, and for Scott Taylor, it's you know, it's like he's never. I don't know if he's left. Has he actually left the venue? I mean, I presume he's stayed down here. Yeah, through the very last dart for us on Saturday, throwing the very first dart here today. And there is the outright betting favourite, Andy Bolton. But as you said earlier, Paul, absolute box office start to this Champions Week.
Yeah, not bad at all. And this is where the Week 13 marathon begins. 104 games for your entertainment from now until Saturday night.
Get Scott to throw first. Game on.
Jack Garwood was the referee on Saturday night. He refereed the last game of Week 12 in qualifying for this week. This is 60. Where they all wanted to be. It's nice to have Andy back as well for another crack at Champions Week. The last time he was here, he did not make the Champions Night. That was in Series 4, where he won Week 7, but ultimately Andy did not make the Champions Night via Groups A or C. In fact, there's only one person in this entire week, Laura, who was made Champions Night before, and that is Andy's opponent in this game.
96.
Yeah, it's very open as a Champions Week goes. Yes, we do have favourites in terms of the betting, but I just think any result with the field that we've got, it wouldn't be a massive shock. It wouldn't be a huge surprise. There's a quality field, but in terms of their ability, for quite a lot of them, it's kind of the version
95.
of themselves that turns up, because we've probably seen the best and the worst of them on this stage, but hopefully we'll see the best this week.
Just deviating away from the fact that 60. We are starting Champions Week here, I've got a fairly open question for you at the start of the next leg. Because Andy's got 6 darts from this 170, just to tidy up leg 1.
134.
That was a brilliant approach from Andy, who comes here as the Week 2 champion.
59. Andy, you require 36.
We said there might not be much in the way of nerves in the opening match, and that's a 14-dart start for Andy. So 0 nerves for X Factor, who gets an opening break. Yeah, Laura, when it comes to this question,
Game
I
on.
think it's been asked an awful lot on social media and on different broadcasts recently, but has darts ever been in a better place than now?
No, I really don't think it
59.
has. I just think the attention that it's got off the back of that epic run to the final from Luke Littler, it's just captivated people's imaginations.
180.
People that know that I'm involved in darts but never really watched it, they're coming up to me now and they are saying, I was glued, I was tuned in the whole time. But also the fact, retailers are saying that they've sold more
59.
dartboards since the World Championships in the 3 years previous, and you just think, wow, yeah, okay, that's great. And there's a lot of opportunities for people to play in a
60.
lot of different places now, much more than kind of when we all started off.
I was just looking at the spectrum of darts over the weekend. There was a WDF ranked event in Hungary. We had next gen darts in Germany. We had our champions,
96.
or the week 12 finals night on Saturday. Everywhere you looked, there was something happening. And it's the same this week. This is one of the biggest
59.
weeks in our year here at the MODUS Super Series to crown our first series champion of the year. The PDC Pro Tour starts today. And if you want to see the fine line between the quality that we've got here and what they've got, you've got Bolton and Taylor in this match, and you've got someone like Daryl Pilgrim who hasn't even qualified for this playing on the Pro Tour.
86. Andy, you
Welcome to
require
the fine line
107.
between level 1 and level 2 of darts. Doesn't get another dart at double 18 here in leg 2. Scott Taylor will be hoping that he does,
41.
or
Scott,
tops.
you require 116.
The tops route, but doesn't get there.
82. Check 92. Andy, you require 66.
Well, chance here for Bolton to extend his lead. Would just be a hold and opts the ball route, but one dart at double, and one dart
Gets
is
on
all
his
he
second
needs.
leg, Andy Bolton.
I'm seeing a little bit more intensity in this first game from Andy. But it was always going to
Third
be
leg, it's
difficult
Scott to throw
for
first.
Taylor
Game on.
from Thursday, Friday and Saturday to maintain the intensity that he showed. That was
100.
as intense as I've ever seen him throw. It was good for then, but what he knows from all of his MODUS Super Series experience is that you have to temper that at times.
100.
In Group A, you know you're going to have 2 cracks to make the Champions Night. So maybe in A, you've got to play just a little bit more relaxed.
123.
Yeah, I agree. I was here Monday, Tuesday last week. Watched Taylor play in Group A, and that intensity you talk about, he demonstrated that on day 1, couldn't replicate it on day 2, and you saw more
40.
frustration coming through because of it. But it is such a kind of an aggressive and focused way that he almost has to play to get the best out of him. And yeah, I mean,
57.
that's hard to maintain for a match, let alone for a week.
Yeah, imagine having to do it for 29 games in a week. He did it for 27 in week 12.
60.
So he's put in a very recent hard shift. I am positive he must have slept very well yesterday. For his chances this week, I really hope he did.
100.
Yeah, and it's that quick turnaround, isn't it? When you do win week 12 and you're coming here to Champions Week, you're still buzzing from what you've just achieved literally a couple of days ago. So it's that come
60.
down, right, I've got to do it
Scott, you
all
require
over again.
121.
At least this time he's got 6 darts for his finish.
101.
Almost takes it as well. He was supreme on tops at the back end of last week. And his doubles for last week were extraterrestrial.
140. Scott, you require 20. Gate
Beautiful.
shot on the third
Expect
leg,
him to hit
Scott
doubles
Taylor.
rather easily when he's got that little bit of comfort at the end of the leg.
Fourth leg, it's Andy
The
to
way
throw
he
first.
performed on
Game
Thursday
on.
and Friday, and including Saturday, it was of a level that would win this week.
59.
But if you want to know how hard it is to get into a Champions Week, think about Dave Evans. He played Thursday and Friday in the same Group B as Scott Taylor.
133.
Averaged 102 for Friday. Over 50% on doubles. Yes, he didn't play to the same levels on Saturday night. but he was within 1 dart of making the final,
140.
stopping Scott Taylor from being here. And had he made the final, he would have been here too. It just so happens that John O'Shea making the final was enough for him to be involved in Group B later in the week.
Yes, like you say, it's those fine margins as Scott Taylor
180.
finds his second 180 of the match, and very well timed 180 because Bolton obviously got that early break, so Taylor needs to find one himself.
96.
I know it's a bit of a strange question to ask at the start of the week, but can you see this being the final on Saturday night?
92.
Honestly, you could ask me that for pretty much every game in Group A, and I can probably say yes, I can make a case for most of these players.
I say every single week we come here that there is a possibility that a couple of players can play each other
100.
7 times.
Scott, you require 96.
I don't think these two are going to play 7 times, but I'm not ruling out the thought that they might win
Game shot on a 4th leg.
a few games
Scott
against each
Taylor.
other with shots like that. The first double-double of the week goes to Taylor.
5th
Now,
leg.
I am
it's
reliably
Scott to throw
informed that he doesn't have
first.
a nickname, but I
Game on.
heard an awful lot of people on social media over the weekend calling him Tenacious. Call him, well, I know this is a bit of a musical pun.
125.
Call him Tenacious T instead of Tenacious D. And get Jack Black to write your walk-on song, Scott.
100.
Bad shout, actually, is it? I quite like it. I love a bit of Tenacious D myself.
Well, we have warned you, Scott. We've given you a nice one there. And right now, he's giving it to Andy Bolton.
Have you noticed just that last leg or two? It's that kind of aggressiveness in the throw, that tenaciousness, as you say, that he shows. It's just starting to come through.
58.
Look at the lip as well. It's just constantly going from placid to that little bit of, well, I think evil's probably the strongest word I could use, but he's not that kind of
89.
person. He's just gritty. He doesn't like to give anybody anything from 7'9¼ And since he was 2-0 down, he's turned into a very different
85.
player, and now he's averaging
Scott, you
over
require
100.
107.
Double top.
87.
He will be back. And it all started in leg 3 when he was given 6 starts from 1-2-1. And he took the double 10 as soon as he came back. This will be the first game of Monday,
140.
meaning it will be the
Scott, you
last game
require
of
20.
Tuesday. I wonder who's going to have a good amount of points come then. But the game could
10.
change right here.
Andy, you require 118.
He gave us a pre-shot wiggle there. Did anybody see that? It's usually a good sign. I said it's usually a good sign.
80.
It almost was.
Scott, you require 10.
Yeah, that was close, but a little for Taylor,
Shot on
and he
a
does
5th
take it
leg,
this time.
Scott Taylor.
And a real turnaround in this match for Scott Taylor.
Did you ever see the Andy Bolton
6th leg, it's Andy to
pre-shot
throw first.
167 wiggle on the
Game
Pro
on.
Tour once? It was one of the best things I've ever seen. I think it was the last leg decider against Kim Huybrecht. Andy's got 167. He gives it the wiggle before the shot and hits it.
140.
A remarkable thing to do. He did start the game with 2 straight legs. If he finishes it with 2 straight legs, he will deny
42.
Scott Taylor his first 2 points.
Do you reckon it's like an involuntary wiggle? It's almost like something he knows. It feels good. This is going to go. Almost did work already in this match.
95.
It's a sign of confidence, that's for sure. And I'm all for that, especially with weeks like this, where there's an awful lot of money on the line. It's not just about, and you
96.
always want to get the 20,000 like Jim McEwen did in the last series, which was back in early November. But by making the final, you get £10,000, which is an awful lot of money at this level of darts. But mission 1 in the first
59.
5 days is just get to Saturday, and then you can dream.
100.
Yeah, we often talk about outrights, but when I actually look at it, I think it's quite hard to pick 6 that won't make it through to finals night. It's, like I say, very tight field.
100.
That's the thing about this week. Everybody hasn't won a week, but everybody has been to the final 2. So they know how to navigate the week.
58. Andy, you require 107.
And he can take us all the way in the first game if he finds 51 and double 18. But he does have the luxury of another visit.
55.
You mentioned Scott Taylor. Feels like he's never left the
77.
venue.
Andy,
I
you
think he's getting to know
require
Portsmouth
52.
really well. And I don't think any player this week knows Portsmouth better than Andy Bolton.
Game shot on the
3-3 it is.
leg, Andy Bolton.
And we go the distance in the first match of the week. Taylor's average is very similar to that of what he
7
put
from
in
final
the
leg. It's
final
Scott
on
to
Saturday
throw
night.
first.
91.89. Bolton doing what Bolton does. I don't know how many people I've sat next to in this commentary box, Laura, but we've all said
180.
Andy turns up, he averages 90 and he wins most of his games. And he's averaging 90. But is he going to win a game where his opponents hit 4 180s?
60.
Yeah, Scott Taylor's going to make it difficult, especially when you do start that last leg and it is the perfect start.
99.
Instantly, Andy Bolton on the back foot, couldn't find a treble and has really given a bit of distance here for Scott Taylor.
100.
I think this is a really good fixture for both players, you know, because they see each
96.
other as huge threats. Get this fixture out the way for the day and don't worry about it until game 15 tomorrow. And they can focus on the likes of Sykes, Jones, Bast, and Crabtree.
100. Scott, you require 126.
126 doesn't need the 19s, with Bolton only at the halfway point of the leg.
90.
That'll do very nicely. I'm not sure if that dart was for a 10, but we don't mind a 10 or a 6 in that spot.
He's just playing the percentages, but
140.
a shot here for the
Scott,
match.
you require 36.
Just mouthed, come on there.
Game
And he
shot
gets the
and
win in the
match.
first game.
Scott
That was a
Taylor.
belter to start the week. The average is good. Andy Bolton loses with an average in excess of 91. Expect to see losing averages like that this week. It's not of the level of Ross Montgomery on Friday when he lost with 108. But games like that will be very, very likely here in Champions Week. Taylor wins by 4 legs to 3 with 40% on doubles. Next, we got Wayne Jones, the man with many, many years in the bank, up against Tom Sykes, who is only just starting his career.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where the first game of Champions Week went all the way to a last leg decider. Scott Taylor, 4 maximums and 4 legs on the board, getting the better.
That title that defines his legacy. No PDC titles at the top level, although he has got 4 Challenge Tour titles. But as far as other ranking titles are concerned, there aren't any. Former European Championship finalist Laura as well. How would you define Wayne Jones's career to now?
60.
He's obviously got the longevity, hasn't he? We were just talking about it. Go back to 1999 when he made the final of the World Masters in
91.
the years he was playing the BDO. But yeah, I tend to agree. There are certain players that just don't have that big title, which kind of just, like you say, it just puts the cap on your career. Wayne Jones, you would argue, is
100.
one of them. Been around a long time. He's made that semi-final. She said made the final of the Euro Champs back in 2010, but just hasn't really crossed that line.
60.
He's played in eras of the game where there have been dominant players. He was around in the BDO when it was Fordham and Walton and Barneveld and
95.
Burnett. The Taylor era in the PDC, and it is in fact Phil Taylor that has denied him PDC titles twice.
180.
Well, if we're going to get 5 180s a game based on the first game of the day, sign me up.
Imagine that list about Phil Taylor
94.
denying, I should say
Tommy
Wayne Jones. I
Maguire,
imagine the list is
77.
quite long of the players he's denied a title over the years.
Yeah, long and distinguished. This shot denied Taylor in the 2003 World Final, and it gives Tom Sykes an immediate break of throw. Yeah, we'll get on to Tom in a minute, because he
Second
has
leg, it's
started
Tom to throw
very
first.
buoyantly here.
Game on.
Taylor denied Wayne Jones the 2010 European Championship Final, but he also denied him
96.
a Pro Tour title in March of 2009 in Coventry. I remember watching it from very close quarters. Wayne had 2 darts at double 16 to beat Taylor. Didn't hit them.
100.
And I always wonder, because I think about this often when Wayne is here. Had he hit one of those 2 shots,
59.
would he have gone on to win more? I have to say yes, because he lost 2 more finals the following year to Vincent van der Voort. I think if you get that title in the bank, it takes the pressure off the other finals
45.
you're in. He hasn't had that luxury in his career. But what would this week do for him? Where could he go from here at the age of 58?
140.
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? When you, like, we've said it with a lot of big players. I mean, you look at the players that, we watch even now that haven't won that big title, and
140.
when the opportunity presents itself, can they take it? I mean, even Michael Smith is probably a good example of actually winning the title at the
100.
Grand Slam of Darts and then propelling himself forward, winning the World Championship to back it up. Okay, things have tailed off, but I think now winning isn't the issue. It's not the sticking point in your brain where you're thinking, oh, I've got a chance, because that's what players do.
Tommy require
Once you've done it once,
106.
it becomes, you want it to start becoming habit. Very hard, when you look at the players you're playing against to
58.
do it on a regular
When you
basis.
require
But
76.
I do think you're right. I think it could have made a lot of difference.
He's going to leave double 18, but only just.
40.
And Tom Sykes has a chance to do
Tommy
what Andy
require
Bolton did
48.
in the first game of Champions Week in taking a 2-0 lead. From the angle,
32.
not quite there.
When you require
Using slightly
36.
different equipment here at the start of week 13 compared to week number 10. And door
Shot
number
on the
9 gives
second
Wayne
leg,
Jones an
Wayne
equaliser.
Jones.
Now, Tom Sykes has recently signed a new
Third
equipment
leg, it's Wayne
contract.
to throw first.
Big deal for him.
Game on.
Myself and Matthew Edgar spoke with Henry Deacon on the stage when previewing Champions Week a couple of days ago, and we said, whatever you do, whatever you used in week 10, use it here.
140.
Do not have the temptation of changing equipment coming into this Champions Week. Well, I don't know
44.
where these flights and stems are from, but they aren't the same as week 10. which is very interesting to me.
No, and it's another one of those things, kind of going back to the kind of psychology, like we were just saying with Wayne, when you start tinkering with
95.
with your setup and things don't quite go right, then that becomes the issue. Then that's, if I change it to this, will it go back to what I did before?
55.
Just to try and understand, a dart player's brain. It's not a world that perhaps, you want to get too, delve too deeply into, but these things, they can play on your mind. It's a solo sport. It's just you, yourself, and your brain up there on the stage.
Well, this is really, really decent in the early stages from Wayne Jones.
100.
Averaging close to
Wayne, you
100.
require
He's just
86.
planted his first maximum. Double 16.
$54.
Well, Wayne has actually changed his equipment, but minimally in his career. He used to use a very short, stumpy dart. And then he changed to a skinnier one because
Wayne,
he
you
wanted to
require
become a better
36.
scorer. He's stuck with them ever since. You need to go to the right, Wayne. It's a better effort. And that's
shot on
in
the third
for a
leg,
2-1
Wayne
lead.
Jones.
An excellent 15 darter there. Could have been better, but like I always say, there's no difference between a
Fourth
15
leg,
darter and a
it's Tom to
13
throw
darter. It always
first.
gives you the same result.
Game on.
Yeah, if you go into the mind of a dart player and you think of it
140.
as an escape room, don't expect to get out. It's too befuddling. Really interesting words in the last few days from Wayne Mardle as well about Peter Wright,
45.
saying, can't blame the darts anymore. I just think that's a really interesting statement.
180.
And again, not to delve too deeply into it all, but again, that's another thing. It's like a ready-made excuse to fall back on. So once you've lost that,
135.
then the realization is, oh, okay, it must be me. And then that's when more panic sets in.
I've always thought a really good book that could be written by somebody in this sport is
135.
501 Darts Excuses.
I've had some crackers over my time.
Maybe we should do it, Laura. Yeah. We can do that in our spare time if we get any.
58.
Spare time?
Tommy
What is
requires
this?
There is no
46.
spare time at darts at the minute. It's a 366-day job in 2024. Double 10. And
shot
that's
on
an
the fourth
equaliser for
leg,
Tom in
Tom
12
Sykes.
darts. Welcome to Champions Week, everybody. This is great quality, where all four players who have thrown a dart on that stage so far
Fifth
are all
leg, it's
averaging
Wayne
over
to throw
90.
First. Game on.
The quality in Group A last week was exceptional. The quality in Group B went up a notch. We saw nervy stuff in Group C. But for a weekly campaign, we couldn't have asked for more.
140.
Now we heap the pressure on these guys because if they want the big paycheck at the end of the week, they're going to have to play just as, if not better, than they did when they won.
$100.
On a personal level, it's really good to see Wayne throwing here this week. He's one of the nicest chaps out there. He hasn't got a bad word to say about anybody.
120.
I think there was maybe a period of 4 minutes in my entire life where I didn't like Wayne Jones. That's because he beat me in my World Grand Prix debut in 2009.
59.
But it was a super game. You probably didn't like the waistcoat I was wearing. It was awful.
Yeah, we can look back
93.
on fashion choices and think, what were we doing? But yeah, I know that feeling. Even your closest friends on the circuit, they become your enemy for a short space of time when you toe the hockey.
100. Tom, you require 148.
What's Tom got in the locker here? He's played some
140.
incredible matches on this stage as Tom Sykes,
you require
including a
102.
belt match for the Yorkshire Strap in the ADC. And he won that against Chris Quantock, a former weekly champion here. That's a miss at the bull, meaning the shot is off.
62.
But if Tom stutters
Tom, you
here,
require 8.
Wayne could be in.
Game shot
No
on the
such
fifth leg,
stutter.
Tom Sykes.
Easy for me to say it. 3-2 Sykes. There could be an awful lot of legs played today, Laura.
Yeah.
Hope you're ready.
Sixth leg, it's Tom to throw first. Game on.
Yeah, it's what we come to expect. But you don't mind when they're playing at the standard that they are. Tom Sykes, just ever so slightly under a 98 average at the moment. And you've got to think this is first thing on a Monday morning. I tend to find sometimes players, they need that little bit of stage practice just to warm into the day, but these guys hitting the ground running.
And not everybody likes Mondays. I know Bob Geldof didn't, but I do.
Tell me why.
100.
Mondays are great when you've got this anticipation for what could happen. In previous Champions Weeks, we've seen the life of Conan Whitehead change. We've seen
100.
Raymond Smith do the ultimate smash and grab, coming to Champions Week and being back on a plane to Australia within about 4 hours. Then the Littler dynasty.
180.
4 maximums in this second game. And that is now 9 for the day. And it's not even the end of game 2.
55. Tommy require 87.
This is for the match. And for a bit of a statement. What I am really liking with Tom at the minute
37.
is the focus and the rhythm. You get those two things right, you can't go far wrong.
Yeah, he is a very rhythmical player. I saw him play here when he was here the last time. I'm very
83.
impressed with what I saw.
Tommy
And this
require
has been an
50.
impressive performance so far.
Total 16. And if you
So,
think
undermatched,
that opening win for
topside.
Scott Taylor was impressive, you might want to get a load of these numbers, because to put your foundation into the ground to start a Champions Week, how about that? It's exactly 4 out of 10, just like Scott Taylor from the first game, but the average is better, and he's taken out Wayne Jones by 4 legs to 2, who did not play poorly. He did get 8 chances, but as far as visit chances are concerned, he was excellent in that department. Sykes gets 2 points on the board immediately. What will it be for Barstow or Crabtree? That will be the last game in round 1. Do not miss it after the break.
Well, what an incredible standard we're seeing already at Champions Week. Before the break, Tom Sykes averaging in excess of 98 to get the better of Wayne Jones by 4 legs to 2. In matter of fact, we haven't seen an average below 91 so far in our first 2 games. We gave Champions Week the big build-up, and boy is it delivering so far. So enter the stage Crabtree and Chaz Bast. So they're the last 2 players yet to play in this Group A campaign. Crabtree having won his first week to qualify here. This is a second Champions Week appearance for Chaz Bast. He was here back in October of 2022 and he's looking to pick up the big prize. But up against him first up is the 20-year-old Crabtree from Croydon. He hit a 9-darter on the Challenge Tour in 2022 and came oh so close to winning his tour card through that system in 2023. But can he taste success on the Super Series stage at the beginning of 2024? Let's find out in the company of Paul Nicholson and Laura Turner.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this
First
game
leg,
because
Chaz to throw
we do
first.
have 2 weekly winners
Game
going
on.
up against each other now, but they've got their own stories to tell. As far as this guy's concerned, we've seen an awful lot of him
123.
since we started doing the MODUS Super Series. Maybe not as much in Portsmouth in our second studio,
139.
but this is a really, really good time for Chaz to kick into gear at the start of this year to see what he can do next. He is a player who's played at the PDC World Championship and played Michael Van Gerwen as well and took the first set off him. But since that World Championship, is it fair for us to say that he has taken a step back?
Yeah, he just had this
95.
amazing season, and it's at that kind of golden position where players can find themselves in now that they do well on the Challenge Tour. They get those opportunities then to play on the Pro Tour when it
57.
isn't full to the 128, and that was what Chaz did, and it took those opportunities. He made the Players' Championship finals as well off the back of it. So
44.
just one of those
Chaz, you require 141.
wonderful seasons that he made the most of, but as you say, just hasn't really regained that type of form.
I remember when he started to play really, really well with us.
82.
He started putting that into Pro Tour action and Challenge Tour action, and he was one of those players that when he was mentioned, you wouldn't categorise him with a
86.
word. You'd categorise him
Chaz,
with
you
a
require
noise.
59.
It's one of, oh, yeah, he's good. He's very good.
On the first leg, Chaz
15-dot start for Chaz Barstow, up against a very bright young talent who was under
Second leg,
huge
it's Cam to
pressure
throw
in this
first.
series to
Game
get a
on.
weekly title from one of his best friends. His best friend, Owen,
99.
is now on the Pro Tour and will make his debut today. So they've been broken up. Tear emoji.
59.
That's it. You do have your players and your pals that you tend to travel with, tend to sit with, don't you? You go to the same table. We're creatures of habit, especially when it comes to the same venues. It's very repetitive. Someone might be, I guess, at this time of year when new players are coming in, I guess they could take your spot, couldn't they?
Yeah, Owen Bates won very early in his Super Series career, but he's now gone to the PDC Pro Tour.
180.
But the young man who's nicknamed Shazam, could you just make that 180 a little bit more difficult, please? 3 in the top
98.
left corner. Who do you think you are, David Beckham? But it was Owen that was saying to him, you need to get some red trousers and there should be £15 in the pocket. Just like Shane Burgess's book.
Yeah,
100.
It was a bit like that. Obviously, I played for England as a youth player just a few years ago. Not many. More than I'd like to remember.
96.
Not that long ago. Well, many congratulations to Chaz. That's another box ticked for him in what's been an excellent career to date.
57.
And I am positive he will be an extremely good teammate. And to everybody who got the England call-up as well. A very prestigious honour.
70.
Yeah, I got my first one this time, but I just couldn't accept it. I'd already booked to go away on a dark competition.
Never in the world.
Yeah, I tried everything, couldn't get back.
You couldn't do a Taylor Swift and get the plane.
Oh, if I had
95.
resources, perhaps, but yeah, no, I just have to do the same again this season. Try and get a call up for next year.
I'm sure you'll do it.
140. Chaz, you require 92.
92 for the lead. Miraculously, could be the worst leg of the match so far. And it's a
Game shot on the
double-double
third
effort.
leg.
That's a
Chaz
little bit of
Bast.
flashiness from Chaz Bast. Expect him to do that. He is one of the most
flag, it's come to throw
unconventional
first.
players when it comes to
Game on.
shots like that. But he makes them look so easy when he's on form. Can you possibly imagine the man from
85.
Winchester bringing a barrage of people here on Saturday night? I can see it. The times when Luke Little has won here on a Saturday night, you can't even get
45.
standing room. But if Chaz is here, people are going to be hanging from the rafters.
60.
It's one of those benefits, I guess, if you are someone who's relatively local. But same for Cam Crabtree, not far down the road, as you were saying. And Cam's another one. And he's had that really
45.
quick, impressive build-up to the level and the standards he's playing at. You know, said himself, always dabbled in a bit of darts. His dad played, but it was
44.
throughout lockdown where we had nothing to do. And there's a lot of players that picked it up in lockdown, but Cam really just practice, joined some online leagues, really enjoyed it, found it out. He wasn't too bad at it either, and now he's here in Champions Week.
180.
The 180s are continuing. Everybody's hit a 180 so far today, but Taylor hit 4, Sykes hit 3, Barstow's got 2 now,
78.
and this game is pretty much at the halfway point. Here's the funny thing, because everybody's playing very well today so far. One of these
64.
players is going to finish bottom. Think about that for a second. That's what Champions Week gives you. Opportunity
140.
and something else as
you
well.
require 167.
Someone in this group is going to finish bottom.
Yeah, I'd like to hear anyone's thoughts as
131.
to the kind
Gammy
of ordering
required
that they
94.
think that this group will actually finish in. Who goes through, and as you say, who finishes bottom?
It's a big dart for Cam.
54.
That miss opens up an
Chaz, you
opportunity for
require
Chaz.
36.
2 double 18s in the previous leg. This time he just needs 1.
Game shot
A
on the
brilliant
fourth
switch
leg.
over to the left
Chaz
side of the
Bast.
board. Always hurts a bit more when the opponent gets the break of throw on dart 3. Barstow could
Fifth
go top
leg,
of the
it's
table
Chaz
after
to throw
round 1 if he
first.
wins this leg.
Game on.
Yeah, not just third dart in hand, it's also a double 9. It's not a given. Can't really say it's a dart
100.
player's favourite dart, a double to go for.
People might wonder at home, who might just be joining us for the first time today, and thank you if you are.
100.
Remember, if you're having a flutter on any games today, it's over 18s only. begambleaware.org for more information and gamble responsibly. But you might think, as a right or left-hander, that
85.
all the doubles are the same. Yes, some of them are higher or to the left or right. But Rod Harrington put it very
85.
eloquently. He said it's a tricky switch from double 18 to double 9, especially for a right-hander because you're throwing across the line.
100.
You have to be a dart player to understand how tricky that switch is. A lot of right-handers really don't like double 9.
60.
I can't say I'm a big fan. Not a big fan of any of them, really, unless they go in.
54.
Yeah, I think I've only got a couple of doubles on my Christmas card list. 16s has always been there. And had a bit of flirtatiousness with double 18 for a while.
180.
And that is 180 number 4 in this match. So is that going to be the average number of 180s per game? Because
80.
we had
Gammy
4
requires
in the previous game. We
76.
had 5 in the first. 4 here. I think we could be on for record territory today. And the game
Shot on the
continues.
fifth leg, Cam Crabtree.
Great resilience there from Cam, who's taken the blow of leg 4 on the chin and kept himself in this one.
Sixth leg, it's Cam to throw first.
He's going to have a really busy
Game on.
year, this young man. Challenge Tour, Super Series action. I'm sure he'll go to some other tournaments as well.
97.
Just part of his ongoing apprenticeship. I thought that if he got a card this year, it might just be a bit too soon. I think another year here will do him a lot of good.
Yeah, I agree. We've also got
132.
development tour on that, and obviously the ADC tournaments, as we were saying, it's just such a... Not only has it got the popularity darts that perhaps it hasn't had, it's reaching
70.
target audiences or audiences that it's never reached before, but there's just also so much opportunity to just get out there, just to go and play. such an accessible sport as well. You don't need a lot of fancy equipment to get started. It's just a board and a set of darts.
And about 9 feet of
59.
room. Unless you want to be playing up against your radiator, which I really wouldn't recommend. Yeah, it's a little bit different between starting to play darts and
140.
starting to do sailing. You need about 100 grand to get a boat. Get a decent board and a set of darts, about 50 quid.
30.
Of all the sports, you
Chaz,
could have
require
picked, you picked sailing.
130.
I could have said abseiling. There you need a cliff. Ooh, that was a match start for Chaz.
110.
He will be back for 10s, though, for what has been a very solid start. Someone who is categorised by a lot of us here at the Super Series as a night
99.
player,
Chaz, you
never
require
really shown his
20.
best stuff in a Group A situation. But he has here
Shot
in
and
the
the
opening match
Chaz Bast.
of his campaign. A 14-darter gets the job done in a high-quality encounter, but from a numerical sense, it's actually the worst game we've had so far, and that tells you an awful lot. But Chaz was excellent on the doubles when he needed to be. Crabtree just did not give himself enough chances to get a win in his first match. But he will be back in Game 5 against Scott Taylor. Andy Bolton will be back against Wayne Jones next.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series and welcome back to the live lounge in Portsmouth. On your screen there is Wayne Jones. He lost out in his first game against Tom Sykes by 4-2. He takes on Andy Bolton, who's looking to limber up for his first win of Champions Week. And what a first round of games that we've seen. Before the break, Chaz Bast got the better of Cam Crabtree by 4-2. Prior to that, Tom Sykes beat Wayne Jones and Scott Taylor beat Andy Bolton. So it's seconds out, round 2 here at Champions Week. And in the commentary box, Laura Turner is alongside Paul Nicholson.
Yeah, we're happy to be going into round 2 because round 1 was magnificent. Bolton lost with an average in excess of 90. So did Jones. I wonder who's going to lose this one, because somebody has to. We don't have any draws here. This is not old school Premier League darts, which used to have draws. Even they have realised that draws don't do anybody favours. I think we're starting to take that example of American sport where they hate draws.
Game on.
As far as Bolton's concerned, he lost against the darts in match 1. Jones lost with the throw. So Andy will be philosophical about that first loss.
40.
You don't mind losing your first game if it's against the darts and your opponent has played well, but now he needs to get on the board.
Yeah, he started very well as well in his opening match, didn't he, Bolton? Started off with a 14 dart leg against Taylor. Taylor just showed that grit that saw him win just on Saturday. As you say, it's early doors, I know it is, but these matches, they all feel like they're going to be very important. I think it's going to be very clustered towards the tail end because these players, a bit like last week, I can see most of them with the ability to beat each other.
121.
At the end of this Champions Week, we will have somebody thrusting that trophy in the air with £20,000 winging its way to their account.
100.
And then next week, we've got something called Double Trouble. Double start darts here in Portsmouth. I can't wait to see that.
It just sounds terrifying, I'll be honest.
Oh, we do have Lisa Ashton playing next week.
60.
Yeah,
First lady to be playing double start darts on a broadcast show.
yeah, she definitely knows where a double or two are.
60.
Wayne Jones has played in a few Grand Prix in his time. He's not playing next week, but he'd love to be thrusting that trophy in the air on Saturday night. They have actually played 4 times, these two, away from the MODUS Super Series.
81. Andy, you require
Twice in qualifiers for
161.
European Tour events and twice in Players' Championships. The last 3 meetings have all been won by X Factor.
95.
Read into that what you will. I'm not reading too much into it because this is a shorter format and it's their first meeting for almost 3 years.
60. Andy, you require 66.
It's always interesting when you look at the head-to-heads. As you say here, they know they're going to play at least 3 times. And Bolton just staring down 8.
50.
First start, just a bit awkward,
Wayne,
I
you
think,
require
for him.
134.
He is going to come back for double A. I think the early portion
94.
of a group like this, you've got
Andy,
to
you require
establish
16.
good habits and good patterns. You don't want to be going around the houses on doubles too much to create that little bit of
Shot on the
negativity.
first leg. Andy
That is a really
Bolton.
good thing for 2 reasons. One, he's hit the shot. But everybody watching, wherever you are watching,
Second leg, it's Wayne
just
to
look
throw
at that
first.
little body position
Game
change
on.
between dart 1 and dart 2. You're looking at 2 players here who are right-handed and are facing away from the board because that's the natural body position of a
43.
dart player. But if you look at that double 4 again, he didn't stay in the same position. He just shuffled a little bit, opening his body up for that double 4 to make it a lot easier
96.
to hit. This is not just throwing metal at a mat, which is what Sid Waddell used to say. This is a very intricate, exacting sport. And Andy Bolton showed a great deal of accuracy
100.
and poise right there before that double 4 hit for 1-0.
Yeah, and interestingly, I think it's becoming even more intricate. Those tiny millimetres, those tiny little adjustments that you can just make improvements on, a few points
96.
on your average. That's what you're going to need at the moment because the standard just across the board, as you say, you've got Daryl Pilgrim, as you mentioned earlier, going to Pro Tour, but didn't actually make it through to Champions Week.
125.
I'm going to put you on the spot now, Laura.
Thanks.
What do you think? And you don't have to be decimal place perfect here.
139.
What do you think the best average is going to be in a game this week? And it could be a losing average or a winning average. How high are we going to get?
I'm going to say 109.25.
If that comes in,
41.
then I should have asked you for tips on the Super
Andy,
Bowl
you
last
require
night.
170.
Are we going to get a big fish this week?
Yep.
145.
Just not quite yet.
We had 3 last week. And we had a lot of the 160 plus stuff as well. This week really does have a lot to live up to after
Andy,
what
you
happened in
require
week 12.
25.
But so far, it is living up to it. Double 8.
Game shot on a
And that's
second
wonderful
leg,
from
Andy
Bolton.
Bolton.
That single 9 was so central. It was a good sign for the next shot.
Third leg, it's Andy to throw first.
And Jones is reeling at the minute
Game on.
after losing 4-2 to Sykes. And he's now 2-0 down to Bolton. But he knows something about being 2-0 up because he was in his first game.
Yeah, indeed. But already Wayne Jones just looks like he's asking
81.
questions of himself back there, because I think everyone is more than aware that you could quite quickly get cut adrift in this group.
And
96.
Jones is from Wolverhampton, which is very famous for the Wanderers, who aren't having a terrible season so far.
41.
And for hosting the Grand Slam since 2007. Used to be at the Civic Hall, now it's at the Aldersley Leisure Complex. Do you think the Grand Slam will ever move from Wolverhampton, or will it be there forever?
100.
No, I think it feels like the place it should be. However, I would have said the same with the Grand Prix. Dublin and Dublin, it just kind of rolls off the tongue. But
140.
things change, times change, so never say never.
Yeah, speaking to Matt Porter recently, he said that they are still keen to take the World Grand Prix back to Ireland, but they still need to find another venue. So if
45.
anybody out there knows of a venue that could possibly house an 8 or 9 day World Grand Prix, get in touch with the PDC. They are very keen to take it back to Ireland.
125.
We're not moving. We are very happy here in Portsmouth. And I know that the players are very happy with this place as well.
95.
There's not one player who has come
Andy,
through
you
these
require
doors
114.
and disliked this playing arena. It's about as good as it gets.
58.
That was a question that Jack Nicholson asked once. Is this as good as it gets? It was a rhetorical question. He's frustrated as Jonah,
65.
and he's got every
Andy, you
right to
require
feel that way.
56.
He's not playing at the same level in this game as he was in the previous one.
36.
But he has got a chance to get himself within
Wayne, you
one.
require 100.
Yeah, and these are the shots that he's going to have to try and convert. He had to have a go at a double. Now has tops and
60.
does get the chance at the double, but
Andy, you
wild
require
deflection.
20.
I'd like to see that one in slow-mo. What happened with that dart? It's like it came from the upside down in Stranger Things.
Game shot on
Well,
the
stranger
third
things
leg.
have happened,
Andy
but-
Bolton.
3-0 it is for Bolton, and this is a great bounce back so far. He hasn't got the job done yet.
Fourth leg. It's Wayne to throw first. Game on.
Nicknamed X Factor because of his singing skills. I've heard him
92.
sing with a certain Veronica Henderson, who is the other half of Super Series great and all-round brilliant guy John Henderson.
180.
And that's the first 180 of this game. Is Jonah going to be the first person not to hit a 180 in a match? I wonder.
140.
Because he is running out of time. But don't be fooled. It's not just Veronica that Andy has sang with. Isn't that right, Laura?
Well, we sang at the same place, at least. One of the
82.
kind of bars that we like to frequent on the BDO circuit many, many years ago. But yeah, was a while ago. But Andy and I do share a love of karaoke.
60.
He's already told me there's one on Thursday.
Andy will be happy if he's got Thursday off. Because if he's got Thursday off, he's got Friday off. And he will be here on Saturday. In the next... one of the next games in this round, you're going to see Tom Sykes.
100.
And
Andy
remember
required
another Sykes
99.
saying, "Do you want a flake in that, love?" That was for a 99. Double 16. Our first
Shot
bagel
and
of the
match,
week
Andy
goes to
Bolton.
Andy Bolton, who was typically Andy Bolton in that one, averaging just over 91. Very steady on the doubles as well. His highest finish of the match came with his last 3 darts as well. That game of 91.09 is the exact average that Scott Taylor put in to win in week 12. So this kind of range is going to be very useful here this week. As for Jones, he just tailed off a bit and wasn't able to get enough chances. Only 1 shot at a double. When we come back, it will be Cam Crabtree looking to bounce back. He's up against Scott Taylor, who won the first match of the week.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where it is Champions Week. And before the break, we saw Andy Bolton get the better of Wayne Jones by 4 legs to nil, averaging 91 in the process en route to that victory. Next up for us is Scott Taylor in action up against Cam Crabtree. Taylor won his first match by 4 legs to 3, whilst Cam is hoping to get his first victory of the week. Down in the commentary box for this one, it's Paul Nicholson and Laura Turner.
Nice mix of black and green on the stage between these two. A bit of jade from Cam Crabtree and a bit of spearmint from Mr. Taylor. Not the first Mr. Taylor that we've commentated on in the past, but I suppose Scott now is trying to take the mantle of many a dart player from Bolton.
First leg, it's Cam to throw first. Game on.
When you talk about Bolton as a place when it comes to darts, there are many players who have had great moments in this sport over the last 30 to 40 years.
58.
Paul Williams, a great England international and tournament player. Someone that Scott knows well.
87.
Lisa Ashton, the 4-time Ladies World Champion. She's not done yet, and she's going to be here next week.
84.
And when I'm talking about Bolton, I can't not mention Steve Coote. because one of my favourite people that doesn't get anywhere near the amount of credit he deserves. Great firefighter, great person, great dart player, and, of course, on the end of the first ever live 9-darter. Thanks to the late, great Sean Greatbatch.
And you know that list, you're going to have missed someone off, aren't you? And you're going to get a text or a tweet saying, what about me?
I'm waiting for it. Yeah. Don't you worry about that.
Scott, you require 153.
Yeah, done that many a time. Not intentionally, I promise.
125.
It's a hotbed, isn't it? It's a tremendous hotbed for darts, Greater Manchester. And going towards Preston, where Dave Evans lives, you can involve yourself in so many different scenes in that area. It's very much like the St Helens area and 45. Surrounding Merseyside.
Scott, you require 28.
Greater London going into Surrey. You can cast your net a little bit wider these days.
Game shot on the first leg.
Taylor looks unruffled coming into this one, and he starts with a purpose in 13 darts.
Second leg.
People are looking at Cam Crabtree at the minute and thinking, I hope you're up for this week, Cam, because if you're not, we're going to maul you.
Yeah, it's one of those groups you get quickly found out.
100.
Cam just off the pace from what we saw in his opening match.
140.
I think this is progression for Cam, no matter what happens this week. The fact that he's made his first Champions Week, he might go on and win it. You just never know. But whatever happens, this is a real step in the right direction. Getting his first weekly title, beating Adam Hunt.
44.
But I think there's more pressure on the likes of Bolton, Barstow and Taylor because they've been to Champions Week before. They know the pressures
59.
Of the end of the series. Sykes, Jones and Crabtree don't.
100.
No, and it's that kind of argument, that to and froing, isn't it? Do you play with that kind of slightly more freedom when you don't have that kind of pressure, when you haven't been aware that if you do have a day like he had last Tuesday, then you really
41.
do just cut all those opportunities to actually top the group, especially when it was as competitive it was last week, and I think it's going to be just as competitive this
85.
week.
85.
I was saying to Matthew Edgar on Saturday, these darts that Scott Taylor uses look very much like a James Wade dart.
180.
He would take 50% of what he's done in his career.
I think a lot of people would.
100.
Interesting year ahead for James as well. I just wonder what feed-on effect it would have
96.
for the winner of this week.
156.
What could they possibly do? We've already seen what it did for a certain Luke Littler. And don't forget that Jim McEwen,
97.
winner of the last series,
Scott, you require 87.
made the final of a seniors event, losing out to Leonard Gates. Double five. Still hasn't missed a double. And it's three different doubles to take that 3-0 lead. Round one, very competitive. Round two, here today, destruction.
Game on.
I find it, again, it's probably just a commentator's thing where we like to create a narrative, but I tend to find if Scott Taylor personally goes into a match and he believes that he is the better player of the two, you get performances like this. Saw him against Ted Everts last time, struggled against Ted. You know, Ted coming just in off the Pro Tour, lost his tour card, and it's almost like a level of expectation, and we saw it in the first match. Okay, he got the better of Andy Bolton, but it was close, whereas this performance here is just so much more rounded. 3 out of 3 on the doubles, averaging just under 99.
100.
How many different ways do you think a player will have to win if they want to win Group A, for example? 15 games.
58.
How many different types of game are they going to have to win? Because, like you said, Laura, it was a gritty display in the first game. This one is just wallop.
180.
If I could put it into one word. By the way, wallop means just Shazam.
177.
Just like that.
Scott, you require 143.
Yeah, good response from Cam, but 6 darts from 1-4, 1-4-3 for Scott Taylor, and that's for the match.
91.
Judging by this position, he could win this group winning 2 different ways. Tight quality game,
100.
destructive
Scott,
game,
you
and
require
there are
52.
some in-betweens. Double top. Didn't miss a
Big shot
double,
on the match.
and
Scott
shows
Taylor.
off by hitting the bottom corner as well. What a performance that is from Scott Taylor. First average of over 100 for the week, and he made it look simple, and he did it in just over 7 minutes. Cam Crabtree has been absolutely thwacked there, and Taylor with 101.9 at 100% on the doubles has sent a message not only to everybody in Group A, but to everybody involved here at Champions Week. We'll take a short break, and it will be Bast against Sykes next, a battle of 2 players who were successful in round 1.